Hello again, vintage Star Wars fans. Welcome back to another episode. In this one, we'll take a look at some of the various vintage media publications I've collected over the years. As we traipse down memory lane, these items are bound to have a few surprises among them. It's interesting to note that some of these items haven't been touched by me since I boxed them away at 13 years old. So let's explore these items together and see what's in store. Let's kick things off by looking at some early memories of vintage Star Wars television broadcasts. Notably, a TV guide from the week of November 11th through the 17th of 1978. What's so special about this TV guide? Well, there are a couple of things. Firstly, it was on November 17th, 1978, that the Star Wars Holiday Special aired for its one and only time. This particular TV guide features a full-page ad announcing the special, right next to Captain Stubing and the cast of The Love Boat. As an 8-year-old kid, this was one of the most exciting events since Star Wars was released. It was just before Christmas, and even more importantly, it was the first Christmas that Kenner had a line of Star Wars toys ready to be placed under the tree. It really was a great time to be a kid, and serves to be one of my personal favorite Christmases on record. The next thing that makes this particular TV guide special, at least for me, is that the cover features the unforgettable, late, great Ron Liebman.
Don't you mean it's just a little chill in here, sir?
Yes, sir.
Well, say it.
It's just a little chilly in here, sir.
Say it again.
It's just a little chilly in here, sir.
Say it again.
It's just a little chilly in here, sir.
Fair enough, sir.
Say it again.
Fair enough, sir.
Say it again.
Fair enough, sir.
You have been my friend, sir.
Say it again.
You have been my friend, sir.
Say it again.
You have been my friend, sir.
Say it again.
You have been my friend, sir.
What did I say to you?
You said you'd rip my balls off, sir.
Say it again.
You said you'd rip my balls off, sir.
Say it again.
You said you'd rip my balls off, sir.
Tip of the ass with the fellow.
With that kind of remarkable pairing, it is an absolute slam dunk for this to be one of my cherished pieces. Yet, this is not the only television first for Star Wars. The next publication on the list is that of the world television premiere of Star Wars on Saturday, September 25th, 1982. This happened via a paid television subscription service known as On TV, which was kind of a competitor to HBO. However, it really was a stand-in for HBO in locations where it wasn't available yet. I'm not certain if On TV was just available in the Southwest. However, where I lived, it utilized a local television station that would sign off around 7 p.m., at which time you could turn the switch on your On TV box, which would allow you to receive the premium content signal. Star Wars being aired for the first time was such an event that you had to pay an additional fee, similar to a pay-per-view, in order to watch it. You simply completed a mail-in order form and included your payment information. At a certain point in the month, they would send a test signal to confirm your viewing purchase. That being said, they absolutely did the premiere justice. They simulcast the broadcast with a local FM radio station to provide the best sound quality available. In those days, there were no home theater systems or ProLogic receiver setups. By taking this extra step, they created the best possible viewing experience you could get outside of a theater. Now that we've explored some notable Star Wars television firsts, let's dive into some prominent magazine publications. To get us started, here's an early item, a 1970s article from an unknown magazine. I present this not as a valuable collectible, but as a cherished early memory. The backstory is simple. As a kid, I found this article in a magazine lying around the house and didn't want to lose it. The only thing I could think to do was tear the article out and place it in my action figure case underneath the figures for safekeeping. It ended up in this choppy state because, shortly afterward, I was introduced to a typewriter for the first time. I had the idea to write my own Star Wars story, so I hunt and pecked my way through about 4 pages. I remember this being a learning curve, as one of my siblings had to explain the concept of the spacebar to me so I could put spaces between the words, something I struggled with at first. Once completed, this article became my book cover. I taped the pages onto an oversized piece of construction paper using the only tape I could find, which happened to be black electrical tape from my dad's storage shed. This torn-out article probably has no financial or collector value, but it holds great sentimental value to me as an early memory from a long time ago. It's a surprising find, a message from my 7- or 8-year-old self. How could I not give this a place of reverence? Next, we have another early memory, Star Wars Poster Monthly. This issue, number 5, features one of my absolute favorite images of Darth Vader, a simple photo of Vader standing against a white background. In practicality, this image was likely taken as a costume test during pre-production. Nevertheless, it remains one of the coolest early images of Vader. I obviously liked the poster enough that I decided to have it framed and is currently hanging on the wall over my desk as I create this video. Taking a quick look at the front and back covers, we see a plethora of collectibles that were available for order. Looking further inside, we find articles about the making of Star Wars as well as some in-universe lore. Probably the most notable thing is the section on Han Solo and the Millennium Falcon. It identifies the Falcon as a standard light freighter with front-loading freight arms and explains that Solo reconstructed it to suit his tastes, making a few modifications such as an oversized power plant, defensive armament, and enhanced maneuverability. Of course, following Star Wars Poster Monthly is the Empire Strikes Back Poster Monthly. This particular one, issue 3, shows heavy wear from being hung on my wall and moved around. I'm sure most collectors wonder why I bother keeping it, as preserving it will likely cost more than it's worth. However, not everything is about monetary value. I actually appreciate these imperfections, tears, puncture marks, and all. They provide a certain charm for me because this item was well loved and I made those marks myself. I can vividly recall how each tear happened, why there are so many pin marks, and how it was moved around my room. These memories mean much more to me than they would to any fussy collector who only sees collecting as an investment. Following this Poster Monthly, we have the Empire Strikes Back Official Collector's Edition. This item is in rough shape, however, this was a rescue. It was found among a collection of magazines sitting around on an end table at a friend's house. He wasn't as much of a fanatic about Star Wars as I was, so I was able to absorb this into my collection where it has been ever since. Just perusing through this reveals a lot of great articles that include both in-universe lore and articles about the making of The Empire Strikes Back. I am providing a view of a few of the articles here in the event anyone has the desire to pause this video and read the articles. In a similar vein, we have the Star Wars Compendium from the summer of 1982. This book is chock full of great in-universe lore that establishes canon with detailed background information. Let's take about 45 seconds to flip through this magazine. I figured this would be one of the few magazines we'll flip through entirely to examine its articles more closely. This compendium essentially gathers articles from various previous Poster Monthly and Collector Series magazines. For anyone interested, it's another opportunity to pause and enjoy some reading. This is a great article that discusses how they used computer programming to draw the graphics in Star Wars as opposed to traditional animation. A good article on ILM. On a personal note, I have 2 of these compendiums. One is in great collectible shape, while the other is a bit beat up. For this video, I chose to scan the worn version to avoid putting unnecessary strain on the spine of the well-preserved one during the scanning process. Next, we have the Return of the Jedi releases of Poster Monthly and Compendiums. For some reason, they got rid of the name Poster Monthly, but maintained the same format, articles, and posters as previous movies and editions. I have highlighted a couple of articles that might be of interest. In a similar vein, we have the Return of the Jedi Giant Collector's Compendium. Similar to the Star Wars Compendium released in the summer of 1982, this is another compiled series of articles and posters from previous Poster Monthly-style releases, and yet another compendium, this time with a focus solely on Return of the Jedi rather than the entire series as a whole. With 8 posters compiled from previous issues, it is a nice little collector's piece all rolled up into one. Here we have the Return of the Jedi Collector's Edition book. It contains a wealth of in-universe lore as well as numerous behind-the-scenes articles and images. This book was given out by movie theaters at the premiere of Return of the Jedi. More than just a book, it holds a great memory for me. My mother, who at the time of this recording passed away almost 2 years ago, took me to see this final installment. I must admit that seeing some of these things has been a bit of an emotional roller coaster. The last time I held these, my parents were alive, my oldest sister was with us, and I hadn't even joined the working world. It really does bring back a flood of memories. Although I continued collecting toys and whatnot for about 6 more months after Return of the Jedi's release, I was 13 at the time and about to start high school. It was then that I began boxing up my collection. Speaking of memories, here's a keepsake that I am fortunate enough to still have. My 6th grade award for Star Wars work. Although I have redacted the personal details, my 6th grade teacher had an extra credit workstation where we could study various items. To get credit, we had to complete the lessons in the order they were presented in the binder. When I began perusing it, I saw a section that involved Star Wars. To make a long story short, I completed a bunch of boring lessons about topics I cared little about just to get to the Star Wars part. After finishing the Star Wars section and receiving this award, I never went back to the binder, even though there were still plenty of lessons waiting. Before we get into the final publications, I wanted to present this honorable mention. Somehow I ended up with a few of these flyers from Spencer Gifts, touting their stock of Return of the Jedi merchandise. I don't know if these have any monetary value, but they are a nice little piece of promotional history. Our next group of magazines is Us magazine. The earliest of the lot, and my second earliest magazine memory, is this Empire Strikes Back cover regarding the good guys of Star Wars. In there is an article about Mark Hamill and his concern of being typecast, another article about Peter Mayhew and how he came to be cast as Chewbacca, Harrison Ford reminiscing about his days as a carpenter, and Frank Oz discusses his characterization of Yoda. Probably the most standout thing for me is this image of Peter Mayhew and Carrie Fisher. With them both now gone, it is even a little more special. Next in line is this Us magazine from June of 1983. It features another great cover and group of actor profiles. In this issue, we have George Lucas proclaiming he is tired, Mark Hamill worried about being typecast, but excited to play the titular role in the upcoming Broadway play Amadeus, Harrison Ford unsure if he should return to carpentry, and Billy D. Williams loving his larger-than-life characters. Some of the standout images in this issue are of George Lucas, and this rare photo of Harrison Ford with then-wife Melissa Matheson. For the final Us magazine profile, we have this August of 1983 issue highlighting Hollywood's heroes and heavies. In this issue, we take a deep dive into the creature creation and puppetry of Jabba the Hutt, miniature design, creation, and scene planning, and Phil Tippett discusses his success and failures in creating the Rancor. Moving on to the next group, we have some vintage People magazines. To start things off, we have this issue from June 9th of 1980. Inside, we have an article profiling the life and career of Frank Oz and his approach to making Yoda come to life. Standout images include Frank and Miss Piggy, Frank and his wife Robin, and this photograph of Harrison Ford being greeted by England's Princess Margaret. Next, we have this June 6th of 1983 edition of People magazine highlighting Carrie Fisher. Inside, we have Carrie discussing her post-Star Wars plans and take a look at her home life, which seems to be very down-to-earth. As a final call for People magazine, we have this June 20th, 1983 magazine featuring a profile of the first female American in space, Sally Ride. But the reason I purchased it was due to this article about the Jedi whiz kid Rusty Miller. If you want to attempt to match wits, feel free to pause and have a go. Here is another magazine, the May 2nd, 1983 issue of Newsweek. While the cover prominently features a famous but controversial set of historical diaries, the reason for its inclusion in my collection is on page 91, an article with full-color pictures regarding Return of the Jedi. Next, we have this Life magazine from June of 1983. For those familiar with Life magazine, you know it's an oversized publication that doesn't fit standard scanner dimensions. Therefore, these images were photographed and cropped as a result. In the accompanying article, we get an in-depth look at George Lucas and dive into some of the details about his life and career. We learn a bit about the accident that almost killed him, his relationship with his wife Marcia, and we get a glimpse of his life as a dad with his daughter Amanda. Our next magazine is the July 21st to August 4th, 1983 issue of Rolling Stone. This cover features a great image of Carrie Fisher relaxing in her Leia slave garb and really captures the relief that cast must have felt after finally having completed the third film. There is not much in the way of pictures for this article. However, it does provide an in-depth review of the hectic life, near bankruptcy, and last-minute push necessary to get Return of the Jedi out the door and complete. Next, we have a collectible from the early 90s with issue 11 of the Lucasfilm fan club. Sometime in the mid to late 80s, the Star Wars fan club changed over to the Lucasfilm fan club, which now include Indiana Jones and other ventures into the mix. Moving down the list, we have this Time magazine from May 23, 1983. This is another in-depth look at George Lucas. Both his personal and professional life are examined in this detailed look at Lucas, Lucasfilm, and the special effects wizards of ILM. Here we have a Mad magazine from the summer of 1983 with two lampoon storylines surrounding Star Wars. The first, Star Roars, is a 7-page parody that turns the 1977 original film on its head, and the other is Star Boars, The Empire Strikes Out, which essentially does the same thing as the previous storyline, but this time with the sequel, The Empire Strikes Back. Lastly, we have every kid's early source for cool new movies and in-depth analysis from behind the scenes to in front of the camera, Starlog. Since most of these contain speculation, rumors, and storyline details that are now well known, there is no need to go in-depth with each magazine and its respective article. The only one I will highlight here is the earliest issue dealing with the Star Wars Holiday Special. The uniqueness and rarity surrounding this special makes it worthy of special consideration. As such, we will showcase the article for those who are unfamiliar. And as a final honorable mention, I have a couple of saved newspaper articles that were clipped from a local paper surrounding Return of the Jedi. These are likely not worth any monetary value, but they do provide a nice piece of history. When I uncovered these publications, they were sitting in a box, protected with random plastic bags I had available at the time. Some were in large Ziploc bags, others in plastic from various product packaging. Basically, whatever worked. Since this channel is about preserving and protecting these collectibles, I decided to finally do it right and purchase magazine bags and backers from BCW. These backers come in 100, 200, and I believe 500 count options and do a great job at protecting magazines. They sell oversized plastic covers and backer boards for oversized magazines such as Life and Rolling Stone. In addition, I purchased a magazine storage box specifically designed to protect and store magazines and prevent damage. While they survived all these years in a cardboard box, it was time to give these things the proper respect for which I was saving them for. And here they are, nice and protected in their new home. As you may notice, there are some publications that we did not address in this video. This is because they will be bundled together for a video themed around a different topic. Besides, this video is already quite long and I've had to cut my actual unboxing and repacking to avoid this video being more lengthy than it is. The end result is ultimately what matters when it comes to these publications. And with that, we come to the end of another episode. This was both a long and challenging video, but it was a necessary step in getting this collection organized. I believe it was John F. Kennedy who said, "We choose to go to the moon in this decade and do the other things, not because they are easy, but because they are hard." Well, I choose to finally get this Star Wars collection organized and properly taken care of. Not because it is easy, but because I can't think of a more fitting way to bookend my childhood and senior years. I hope you will continue to join me on this journey as we delve deeper into my Star Wars collection. Until next time, may the Force be with you.